Hi and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave and this is episode 1089A and today's date is September 30th, 2016 and the title of the episode is Deutsche Bank's systematic breakdown might start a chain reaction collapse. Now before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. Tomorrow I'll be uploading an interview with Martin Armstrong. He is from ArmstrongEconomics.com. If you are on the X22 Report email alert system, I'll send you an email. If not, and you subscribe to YouTube, YouTube should send you an email. If not, you can go to YouTube, just type in X22 Report Spotlight. It should bring you right to the video. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com site, scroll down, look over to your right, you'll see the video there. Or you can go to NewsSentinel.com, same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, and you can play the video there. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we can see just from the corporate media today talking about Deutsche Bank, things are rapidly falling apart. And we're starting to see that this is starting to spread. We know that Commerzbank is laying off about 9,000 or so employees. Well, Dutch ING Group, they are the largest Netherlands lender. They're going to be announcing thousands of job cuts on Monday. And we can see that this is spreading now to many different areas. And we're going to see an Italian bank say they're laying off people. A Spanish bank is going to be laying off people. And you have to remember how this occurs. It is all happening out in Europe first. It happens on the outskirts and works its way in. Just like the Great Depression in the 20s. Everything in Europe came back and hit the United States. And we're seeing the same thing happen right now. And when we look at all the economic indicators, when we look at the economic sectors, we see everything is deteriorating, everything is contracting. We see the U.S. everyday person, well, spending is declining. Income is declining. Actually, we're seeing spending completely disappoint in August. And we can see right now the corporate media is out there saying it's unexpected. I can't believe this. Why is this happening? We know why this is happening. People do not have the extra funds to go out and purchase. Everyone is very nervous. Everyone realizes that something's wrong, something's about to happen. And what people normally do at this point in time is when they're losing their jobs, when they only have a part-time job, or they're very nervous in their jobs because they hear rumors of layoffs, they start saving money. And this is why we're seeing the savings rate move up a little bit, because people are very nervous. Now, there's a very interesting indicator that shows us that there's a recession headed our way, and it's heavy trucking. And there's a link, there's a 30-year link between U.S. heavy truck sales and economic growth. And right now, the heavy trucking industry has declined by 29%. And every time this occurs, we're in a recession. And if we go back to 1986, well, it happened then. When we went to October of 1991, we had the same thing happen. January of 2003, recession. April of 2009, recession. Here we are again in August of 2016. We are in a recession, heading to a depression, heading to a collapse. And we can see that the situation is not getting better, it's not improving, it is getting worse. Actually, the Atlanta Fed right now, remember when they came out with their GDP and they said it's going to be about 3.6%, or it might even go as high as 3.8%. Well, we always know what happens. This was for the election. They made it sound really, really good. And then all of a sudden, they started to revise. Last Friday, they said it was going to be 2.9%. And I said, well, do we really believe them? No, of course not. They're going to revise it down once again. And they actually just did. They revised it down to 2.4%. And what they're going to do is they're going to continually revise this number. Most likely will come in at 1%, 1.2%, maybe 0.9% around that area. And remember, this is the manipulated GDP. If you strip out Obamacare and everything else that they've done to it, we're in negative territory. This economy is rapidly falling apart. And billionaires know this. Now, we understand that the United States, they created the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. And this is where all the banks have to come into compliance, and they have to squeal on those people that have funds in their bank. If they're earning money outside of the country and they're putting money in the bank. And people used to go to Switzerland because they knew that they didn't have to worry about Switzerland squealing. Well, they made the deal with the United States, and guess what? They tell the United States who has what in their banking system. But as soon as the United States government put the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, FATCA, into power, we see that billionaires said, we're just not going to use the banking system. What's the point anyhow with 0% or negative interest rates? You know what we'll do? Well, the Swiss have secret military bunkers, and billionaires, they're filling them with gold and cash outside of the banking system. Because these private vaults, they are not subject to the FATCA laws. It's outside of the banking system. In fact, these super secret privately operated storage facilities buried around the Swiss Alps can basically store anything from anyone because they're not required to report suspicious activity, money laundering, or anything. And what we're seeing is a lot of billionaires, they're hiding their gold and other assets in this area. This is how they get around everything. They're not using the banking system. Because in the first half of this year, 1,357 metric tons of gold, worth about 40 billion, were imported into Switzerland. And we can see right now that all of this gold that is being brought in, well, it's being moved into these private vaults. So we can see the elite, they already realize they know how to get around the laws, and this is exactly what they are doing. Now, we know that Deutsche Bank is approaching a catastrophic collapse, and we have to remember that their total derivative exposure exceeds the entire net value of everything in Germany. Not just the government's resources, all private resources as well. In other words, even if the government wanted to bail them out, even if they survive bailing them out, it won't work. It will eventually collapse. The debt exposure from other banks that have purchased debt instruments from Deutsche, well, there's going to be a chain reaction when this thing goes. We'll have a ripple effect or a domino effect throughout the banking system. And it's going to be something that we've never seen before. And we are right at that time period when this is going to happen. We're watching the economic collapse in real time. This is not about going backwards and saying, well, now we understand what happened, just like we do with 2008. Oh, we can see it now. Oh, it's the subprime. We saw Bear Stearns failing. We saw Lehman failing. We saw exactly what Moody's and S&P were doing with the subprime security. Yes, it's much easier to go back in time and point all these things out and realize what happened. But what we're doing right now is we're watching this happen real time as it happens. And of course, the first thing that people do is, I can't believe it. I can't believe this is going to happen. Actually, Deutsche's CEO is telling the employees that there's nothing to worry about whatsoever. Don't worry about a thing. What they're doing right now is they're blaming all of this on speculators. And they're saying that these hedge fund clients, they are, leaving the bank. They're reducing their exposure, and speculators are the problem. Didn't Nixon do this in 1971 when we came off the gold standard? They always like to use speculators. But what we're seeing right now is that Deutsche Bank, which is the 11th largest bank in the world, has assets of 1.8 trillion and over 60 trillion in derivatives on its books. The bank is about to unwind, and it will be catastrophic. This could very well lead to a 2008 type of crash. And it'll be very interesting to see how Germany, the ECB, the Fed, what they do to contain it. Because we can see right now, as soon as the US government, as soon as the German government, as soon as the CEO comes out and says speculation, no worries, everything is fine, everything is contained, you know what's going to happen. You know this is going to come down hard and fast. And it's not going to hit the United States right away. It will take a little while. It will devastate Europe first. And then it will move inward. And we're watching this happen in real time. This collapse is beginning. And we can see right now that everyone at this point should be saying, okay, do I have the supplies I need? Do I have water, food, gold, cash on hand, a weapon to protect my family, batteries, extra medicine? Do I have these things? Because from what we're looking at right now and what we've learned from 2008 and from the Great Depression and from 2001 is that once they start making these announcements, think about it. In 2008, when did they start making the announcement that everything's contained? July? August? How many months later did everything start to fall apart? 3, 4? Well, here we are once again. So we don't have that much time. As soon as they start saying these type of things, you know we're in big trouble. And we can see we're heading for this collapse, and it is approaching very, very quickly. And I can see right now they're going to try many extraordinary things, but eventually what's going to happen is something's going to go completely wrong, and it will start. Now, this is only going to be the first phase. They're trying to contain it right now so they can get everything ready to go. So this is going to be the first phase, because you have to remember the central bank in Europe, the central bank here in the United States, they want more control. And they have a certain mandate where they can't do certain things. So they need legislation passed. And the only way to convince government to push this legislation through is they need to scare them. They need an event. They need some type of crash. Think about what happened in 2008. When the crash was happening, they were scaring everyone. And Congress did whatever they wanted. They're going to do this once again. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.